Hello, ladies and gentlemen, scumbags and all. Welcome to Mandalorian Scum. This is the show where everything's made up and the points don't matter. Nope, that's something else. Either way, this is Mandalorian Scum. We talk here The Mandalorian, and you know what? Normally I'm here with either Andrew or James or that other guy. No, sorry, Barack, you're not really that other guy. You're literally Barack, and he's awesome. I was here with Aaron before as well, but this time I'm here with a new face, and my guest is a man that I believe is also farmed in the Cyto caves of Nora. Jason Moore, how you doing, buddy?
That is true. Hey, good to be here. Thank you, Rob, for that lovely introduction.
Yeah, you have no idea what the Cyto caves of Nora is, do you?
No, but I'm learning as I go.
No, absolutely.
I'm sure by the end of this, I'll know everything I need to know. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, this is the first time you guys have seen him. I've spoken to him a few times. He's a newer Star Wars fan in general, so it's nice for me to get a newer Star Wars fan perspective on this, and a newer Star Wars fan perspective on The Mandalorian. So, just briefly, Jason, what was it that got you into Star Wars for the most part, and what keeps you coming back and liking Star Wars and enjoying stuff about Star Wars?
Well, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I didn't grow up watching Star Wars, so I didn't see it as a kid. But in my late 20s, I revisited all 6 of the previous movies and got really excited for them. And I got invested in the story, got invested in the characters. A lot of help from you, of course. And then when The Force Awakens came out, I hadn't been that excited for a movie in a long time. Do I wish I had seen them when I was a kid? Probably, because I would have the inner geekdom that a lot of people do have. But as a newer fan, it's just become a franchise that I'm invested in the characters. I want to see where the stories go. I like the new trilogy. And I was as excited as a lot of people were for the Mandalorian TV show.
Oh, yeah. It's good to hear that in general. And just one of my real things that I take a lot of pride in is actually getting you a fan of Star Wars, because we used to work together a lot, and that was one of the things that you were always nagging on a little bit. But you know what? You're converted. Welcome to the club is what I like to say. Welcome to the council.
I never thought I would be saying this, but I am a Star Wars fan, and it's something I took pride in before, being on the other side of the fence, because there's so little people that didn't like Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta say, these new movies have really gotten me invested, and we actually just watched the original trilogy yesterday.
Yeah,
and I like those 3 movies better the more I watch them. So,
well, there you have it, guys. So this was talking about Star Wars specifically, but more specifically, we got to talk about The Mandalorian, because you know what? The Mandalorian, we've been talking about a little bit, how some of these more recent episodes have been slow, where's the kind of the major plot of it all. And you know what? I don't know who it was that planned this, whether it was, Disney that said it's we're going to put this specific episode of The Mandalorian on the week that Rise of Skywalker comes out, because they want to get all the talk about Star Wars, or whether it was just Jon Favreau that just said, my 7th episode, that's going to be the one that's going to get everybody talking, and, hold my beer to J.J. Abrams. Because J.J. Abrams thinks that his movie's all getting talked about. But you know what? Jon Favreau says, you're going to talk about The Mandalorian, because this was one heck of an episode. For me, I think it's easily my favorite episode of the entire series. Finally, they came back to it, and they let you know pretty much right off the bat. Because if you just watch the recap, it started recapping all the different characters, right? It showed you IG11, it showed you Greef Karga, it showed you Queal, it showed you Cara Dune. So it right away set you up. It's oh, this is gonna be a big deal. And then right off the bat, the Mandalorian is there on his ship, the Razor Crest, and he gets this transmission from Greef Karga, basically setting up what the entire episode is going to be about. So real quickly, just to start off, your general thoughts about the episode, Jason. What'd you think about this episode?
Well, I 100% agree with you. It is the strongest episode, I think, that they've had, period. My favorite episode before this was the episode where he goes back for the kid, and he takes out...
Chapter 3. Yeah, that's right.
Chapter 3, where he takes out the stormtroopers in the bunker.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, you're right, he's kind of been on the run. Every episode ends with him just, on the run with the kid. You don't know who's chasing him. You don't know who's after him. And we're finally getting that plot that we've been looking for. We finally have a team on his ship, which feels like Star Wars to me.
Well, spoiler alert, because that's what it was. It was when we got that transmission on the Razor Crest. Grief Karga said it's like, oh, you come here, will you kill the client, and then that'll be it. My business will be back to normal. You will be able to just leave with the kid, and I will restore your status in the Bounty Hunters Guild. But of course, the Mandalorian isn't the dumbest of characters, so he right away thought it's like, oh, I'm going to need something more than this because I don't know how much I could trust this guy. Because literally the last time he met Grief Karga, they were gun to gun, and, one of them was going to kill the other. And at that point, Mandalorian thought he killed him, but he did not. He had the Beskar plate underneath his jacket over there. So we right away get from the spaceship back to Sorgan, which was the planet that Cara Dune was on. And she's fighting one that I don't know if you'll know exactly what the race of this was, but the race of the character that she was fighting was a Dathomirian. And looks a little bit different, but Dathomirians, more specifically, is the race of Darth Maul. Wow. So that character that she was fighting was another one of the race of Darth Maul, and she took him out. It's like Gina Carano still continually, whether it's movies or whatever it is, her biggest feat is her physicality, and she's constantly able to show that. But at the same time, she's doing pretty good in terms of the acting that she's been having to do. What have your thoughts been about Cara Dune as a whole so far?
Well, I think this was her best episode.
Okay.
I actually liked her in the last one as well. It's her best acting ability that I've seen her in my whole time watching her. I've only seen her in a couple of things, but I never thought she was all that strong, but I think she really fits this role. She's great in the physical presence, but she's also good in the quiet moments, talking to Mando. She was talking about his helmet last time. When has he ever taken it off? Now she's talking about the kid, and can you trust your friend that we're going to see? Mm-hmm. And I think she's great in this role. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And it's like one of the key things I think that you have about Gina Carano with this is if you actually look at her Twitter game and when she's talking about this, you can tell that she really loves Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things is that you hear her talk about it, you see what she has to say about it, and she's invested. And part of that investment is showing that she cares about this character in a certain sense. So we got her. He recruited Cara Dune, and then what's his next spot that he goes to? He goes back to the only planet that we haven't had a name for so far, which is Queal's planet. And this was the moment. It was like we on the other episodes have been talking about. It's like, is IG11 really gone? Yeah. You got shot in the head. Is that the end of the character? We thought that there'd be more to him. I mean, he's voiced by Taika Waititi. Taika Waititi has an episode. He's directing the finale.
Yeah.
So usually Taika Waititi likes to act his own stuff, and we got the return of IG11. We filled in the blanks. I mean, Quill. We should have in general just thought that there was a possibility that Quill could have just put him together like how he did, put him back together, because he's proven he rebuilt the Razor Crest in Chapter 2. So what'd you think in terms of Quill coming back, at least at this moment, to be, these four characters? I specifically put these pops on the back because we finally got all four of these characters together in one episode. And what'd you think about that and getting the return of IG11?
It makes me so excited to see this next episode. And IG11 is a character that we haven't seen, I don't think, since Chapter 1.
Since Chapter 1, no, absolutely.
Since he was dismantled, taken apart.
Yep.
And it's great to see him back. I think Quale's a great character. And one of my favorites, Nick Nolte, is fantastic in this role. And it's good to see the team back together again on the planet. He was a little hesitant to help him at first. Mm-hmm. He says, I haven't served in a long time. He's retired, and he didn't want to get back into the game. But Mando needed someone to look after the kid.
Right, absolutely. And one of the things that we were talking about is, as soon as all these characters got back together and they went on the ship, right off the bat, Mando and Cara Dune, have this very interesting relationship where it's just they're kind of mano a mano. They got into this great fight in Chapter 4, a hand-to-hand fight, and they were doing this arm wrestling thing, and then suddenly, we knew that Baby Yoda could lift stuff, but he suddenly starts pulling a Darth Vader and starts force choking Cara Dune because he thinks that, I don't know, I guess she's going to hurt the Mandalorian from this arm wrestle. He's still a child, right? So he still doesn't understand that type of stuff.
And he's protecting Mando. in
And
this situation.
he thought that Mando was hurt, like getting hurt, so he wanted to help his friend, just like how he did with the Mudhorn in Chapter 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an interesting moment because it actually made me think, like, for the first time, is there any evil in this Baby Yoda? Is there any evil in this child?
Yeah, but it also shows the progression between Mando and Yoda, Baby Yoda, that they actually care for each other, and Yoda's looking out for him.
Yep.
In this episode, the arm wrestle is a bit off-putting. Yoda's like, hey, "What are you doing? Let him go," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then when Mando realizes, he does the double take. You notice the double take, and he's like, "Oh, it's Yoda. Let her go," kind of thing. And it just shows the progression that these characters have had with each other. Like, over the episodes, we've seen that the Mandalorian has obviously grown to love this kid, wants him to survive, obviously risking his life for him. But this is a little bit of a response from Yoda in saying, "I also care for you, and I'm going to be there to protect you," kind of thing.
Okay. Well, so there you go. That's a lot of thought going into a little child's thought process there, but absolutely.
Yeah.
So there we finally get back to the planet. We get back to Navarro, and we get this meetup with Greef Karga and the rest of them. And suddenly already he has, these 3 other bounty hunters with him. And, Mando, as usual, as these episodes have all been going, he is so unliking of droids that, he doesn't let IG11 even leave. IG11 has to stay in the ship the whole time, and so he only leaves with Queal, Cara Dune, and Greef Karga with his other 3 bounty hunters. So, it was constantly a case of, can I trust him fully for the most part, like that type of a dynamic, right? Carl Weathers just brings a nice likability to it, but also at the same time,
And Cara also brings it up on the ship before they land about, "You have a real thing for droids," and Mando responds with, "I have a thing for that droid," because he's a hunter. And he's always been reprogrammed. So we every episode we're getting more and more about Mando's dislike for droids and why does he dislike droids. And
we have a hint as to why he would dislike droids just off of Chapter 3. I think that's the number one reason that we can find out why he dislikes droids, or more specifically, aggressive type droids that can, do damage and actually hurt people. Because in that small little flashback portion of it, we found out that it's Super Battle Droid is one of the things that possibly killed his family and was going to kill him possibly. Yeah. So,
and we had a great line in this episode from Quill where he says, "Droids are nor good nor bad."
Yep. It's the imprint of what the maker leaves on them for the most part. And that's sort of proving true here with Queal, because he's already kind of turned IG11 seemingly, but at the same time, Mando at the same time is like,
he's still hesitant.
And even Queal said it at one point. I can't forget what the exact line was, but he also said that he will protect if he has to.
He will protect. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to play in definitely to the end of the episode and possibly into episode 8, I think. But, moving on to it, we get to this moment where they stop for this little fire and whatnot, the group of them, eating a space goat, I guess, because we saw that space goat that was just randomly hanging out over there. So
and who
enjoy some space
goat.
That's
my question.
What's that, sorry?
Who hunted the space goat?
Who hunted the space goat? Oh, it was right there. I mean, I could literally just see Cara Dune just probably stuck out her blaster and just shot it in the face or something like that. And then
Mando's like, "I'm not used to not doing anything."
But anyway, and then we got this attack of these creatures that happened on there, and it was this little scuffle, took out some blurgs, two blurgs died, didn't make
Sad
it through.
moments.
But there's creatures that we got in Chapter 1 and whatnot, and just this idea then which Mando had to, use these beasts and learn how to train them. I kind of wonder if Cara Dune had to take a little training session separately.
I think she already knew. I don't think there's anything she doesn't
Cara Dune,
do.
Cara Dune already knows everything. Yeah.
But these are Queal's creatures. Like he raises them, he uses them, and to see 2 of them get taken away was tough to watch.
It was definitely hard stuff for him for sure.
Yeah.
But in this battle in which they finally get rid of them, Mando uses his flamethrower, just makes them go away because one of them's on fire. He's like, "I'm getting the heck out of here.
Yeah.
Screw this guy. I'm on fire, guys. Let's get out of here."
And they were able to kill one of them.
They did kill one of them.
Down.
Yeah. They killed the one that tried to grab the second blurg, I believe. But in this battle, from right off the bat, you saw that Grief Karga was injured. He was hurt on the hand, and seemingly these things carry poison, I guess, in their talons, and the poison was spreading and whatnot. And we finally got an idea as to, because we got a hint of it in Chapter 2, right at the beginning, when the Mandalorian is fighting the Trandoshans, I believe. He gets injured in that fight, and the child walked up to him and like it was wanted to heal him or to hint at its force powers. And here it actually shows that this creature, the child, can actually heal people because he heals Grief Karga, saves his life.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this?
And Kara's response to him to the kid walking up. Kara.
No, oh yeah. She had no idea.
Get the kid away. Move the kid away.
Yeah.
That was a great moment. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anybody knew. Like, I don't think the Mandalorian knows the extent of what can be done here. Like, he has seen a little bit of
he's seen the force powers.
The force powers, but not healing powers to this extent.
And these people, because again, like for the most part, this show takes place in the Outer Rim, so that's like far away from everything else. And it's like Queal kind of just said, it's like, oh, I've kind of seen or heard of this before, but it's seemingly at this point they don't know of the Force all too much, right? Because most people, the only Jedi that they might even know of is Luke, but in the Outer Rim they might even not know Luke, because this takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, and it's like, what kind of a reputation does Luke have at this point? At least, especially for planets and people that live in the Outer Rim.
And the Jedis were already scarce.
Well, yeah, the Jedis were already thought of just legends already at that point, right? Like,
until Luke
especially when you watch something like A New Hope and you hear like some of these Imperial Guards talk about it. That's like, oh, all these stories are just poppycock type of thing.
Yes, yeah.
So, anyway, in general, this turn in which they heal Grief Karga plays into the next scene, because you find out it's like, yeah, Grief Karga had another plan here. He wanted to actually kill them and just take the child and give it to the client, and hoping, I guess, that he would give him back his, stronghold of the Bounty Hunter Guild on that city, or at least his spot for it.
Yeah.
But I guess, Grief Karga saw that, this child isn't that bad, I guess, in some sense, because it saved his life, and proved that, he's at least honorable in that type of way.
Well, unless he has other ideas for taking down the Empire. Like, he still wants to take over his city. His city's been overrun by troopers.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows if he can be trusted if he and Mando walk out of this with the kid. Would he turn his back on him? I found it interesting when they got off the ship originally and landed. He told Cara Dune to stay on the ship. And Mando said, no, she's coming with me. And they had a bit of a back and forth, which I
think that was the whole point of it, is that he wanted to make it easier for them to
he doesn't want to
take them down.
Both of them.
Yeah, he doesn't want to have to kill both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if his plan the entire time was that, when we get to the city and we're right there beside the town, I don't want to have two people to worry about, right?
Yes.
It's like the Mandalorian could be hard enough to kill, especially with his Beskar armor.
Yeah. But at the moment, it looks like Grief may be working with them. He may be on their side.
Mm-hmm.
But as Cara has said, can you trust him?
Oh, yeah.
And Mando says, no. But we'll see. I can't wait for this next episode. I just need to know where it goes. It's one of those things that you need to know, and we haven't had that yet in this series. When episodes end,
it was very much like I felt that in Chapter 3, at least. At the end of it, it's like, where is he going to go next? I had an idea, because at that point they hadn't introduced Cara Dune yet, right? They hadn't introduced some of these other characters, so I had an idea that's where he might go. But at the same time, like, this is winding it down. Like, we're literally going to the season finale, and getting into it now. They get to the town. They have this new plan in which he sent Queal back with the child, and they were going to go in there with the pod without the child in it, and still enact this original plan, at least the plan that Mandalorian thought that they were going to do, where he would kill the client and then that would be it, right?
Yeah, and Grief is bringing Mando in as a prisoner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Had him did the old Wookiee trick that they do in A New Hope again. And they get in there. There's Werner Herzog again. Like, he brings such an interesting presence in general with that character.
A great little moment before we get into that was when they were trying to get into the town. And, and the stormtroopers asking for his identification, and then he says, "I'll buy the helmet."
Yeah. He wants to buy it for 20 credits.
And then Grief says, "No, that's going on my wall."
Yeah.
And then Mando
Go with
whispers
it.
to him, "On your wall." Like it's just
Oh.
it's interesting seeing stormtroopers in these kind of everyday roles, because the original trilogy is very. They come out, they do their thing, they go back. They're not really characters, but seeing these guys walking around town and stuff, I find very interesting to look at.
Oh, yeah, it's the TV shows where you get to do that type of stuff. Like, you get to see some more of the characters about, just randomly talking about things. Like, the only scenarios in which they do stuff like that is maybe like in Force Awakens. I remember there's sometimes like, some back and forth between some stormtroopers there. But it's like in the TV shows, that's when they give them these characters a little bit more character.
Yeah,
let's just say.
For sure.
So in this sense, they finally get over to the client's area, and Werner Herzog and the client just really has this really funny moment in which he just like wants to see the child, and it's just like, oh, the child's sleeping. It's like, I will be quiet.
We will all be quiet.
We will all be very quiet. It's like he just wants to see this child. It's like a weird German, just wanting to see this little child. But regardless, finally, we've been talking about it for the longest time. The character Moff Gideon, we know Giancarlo Esposito was in this show, and he finally comes in, and he comes in with a bang, in which he seemingly knew the whole time that the child wasn't there, whether it's through a fob or whatever reason. He knew that the child was not there, and that they were pulling this, switcheroo and whatnot to kill the client. But, Moff Gideon just essentially kills the client himself, kills all the stormtroopers, and locks them down in this in the bunker, seemingly like without any way out, with all these stormtroopers around. The Death Troopers, which we have not seen since Rogue One, we know that these Death Troopers, they basically guard like these higher ranking officials within the Imperial Army, and Moff Gideon is clearly one of those. He shows up in this TIE fighter, this like seemingly like redone TIE fighter, because you never see them really, at least not often, close the wings like in that type of sense.
Yeah.
It's
a great scene.
Yeah,
all the stormtroopers get off.
And Giancarlo Esposito is just a great actor. Just right away shows like his strong presence as being this, great villain in terms of sense. And then, Mando unfortunately seemingly makes the mistake of, having to speak to Quill and make sure that they're safe. And seemingly this communication allows these scout troopers to zero in on his location and get a lock on him.
Yeah.
Seemingly.
In a very tense scene. I mean, everything from the restaurant on there, the little bar area on, is very tense.
Yeah.
Because you're not sure what's going to happen to our heroes here. You're not sure what's going to happen to Yoda. You just want him to get back to the ship. That's all you're thinking.
The child, yeah.
Go.
Yeah. And then, you get the moment in which, shot beautifully again. Like, Deborah Chow, she directed this episode. She also directed Chapter 3, the other really big episode. So she's showing her prowess and showing the reason as to why she's deserving of seemingly directing the entire series of Obi-Wan. Because that's seemingly, she's getting that job. And she does this final shot so beautifully because, yeah, you get it the moment when Mando's trying to get in touch with them again. And you see the child lying there on the ground, and you already have a feeling as to what possibly happened. Scout troopers pick it up, and then you see it. Seemingly, Quill has been killed. He's gone. The Blurg is gone, and just short of getting back to the Razor Crest.
Yeah.
What'd you think of this?
And the camera does a nice little push-in on Mando as he's trying to contact Queal.
Yeah.
Did a nice little push-in, and the music picks up. He's not responding, and then they cut back to him on the Porg.
Mm-hmm. Blurg.
Not
Blurg. Porgs are much smaller. I don't know if they'll be carrying very many people.
Porgs are much smaller.
Yeah.
But it's so tense. They cut back to the speeder bikes and the two stormtroopers chasing them, and you're just holding on. You're like, go, run.
Yep.
And they cut back to Mando. And it's just silence over the airwaves.
And it was a small little added thing, but it's like, these episodes at the end always show you these photos and stuff like that. The concept drawings of how they had these scenes or moments drawn out. And that's one where you get to see, I think it's close to the end of the pictures, you get to see seemingly the shot that takes him out, because it's one of those art pieces is Queal on the Blurg carrying the child, and with the speeder bikes right behind him, and you almost see like there's that one blaster bolt that you see is like almost going for him. Seemingly that's the one that finally kills him. But
it's heartbreaking, as I mentioned earlier. He's one of my favorite characters.
They shot it beautifully, and he's gonna suck to have this guy gone because
So maybe the build up in the middle episodes here has helped us appreciate this episode as much as we are. Because we're caring for these characters, all of them, and we want them to get out of it. And sadly for Queal,
he's one that doesn't make it through
unless he was a clone.
We'll leave that for another time. But regardless, you know what? One of the things we like to do on this, Jason, is never tell me the odds. So you know what? I'll start off with one here. Never tell me the odds, Jason. So you give me a percentage. I ask you the question. I'm gonna go. We're on the week of Rise of Skywalker. We're in episode 7, chapter 7 of The Mandalorian. What are the chances? It's clearly not for Quill, but what are the chances for any of these characters? Any character that's appeared in The Mandalorian so far of appearing in some way in The Rise of Skywalker?
Well,
what do you think, Jason?
I'm going to go low odds. I'm going to go 10%.
10%, okay.
Because I do believe that The Rise of Skywalker was written, the concept was thought of before Mandalorian was a thing. And I don't think Disney acts impulsively. I don't think the popularity of the show would lead to them throwing in a character. How great would it be, though, if one of them showed up in an Easter egg, a post-credit scene, and would tie you into Season 2, maybe, of The Mandalorian? But I don't believe they're high odds. I would say 10%. How about yourself?
I'm going to go a little bit higher because, these are developed at the same time, but, this isn't like, Jon Favreau and J.J. Abrams would never meet, regardless of the fact that I said, like, John's like, oh, hold my beer. I'm going to try to top you, J.J.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a possibility that somebody might possibly show up. Like, I don't know if they would want to spoil it because, again, like this show takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, which would make it 25 years before Force Awakens, which this Rise of Skywalker is seemingly 2 years after Last Jedi, which is Last Jedi's almost immediately after Force Awakens.
Yes.
So with that in mind, this show would roughly be 27 years after that. So I don't know if anybody will really show up, but it would be kind of interesting if you just kind of saw like an older lady randomly in the background in like a resistance base with that little tattoo on her thing, and with the tattoo on her arm, seemingly older Cara Dune that's part of these battles in some type of sense. That would be kind of interesting. But if anything, I truly believe that as much as I could say Cara Dune would be cool to show up on here, it would be a minor character if anything. So I'm only going to go a little bit higher because I could see them just poking something in there. And somebody claims that apparently the Razor Crest is in like a shot in the trailer, but I don't truly believe that.
Right. Also, with one episode left in The Mandalorian, do you not think it would be a little bit of a spoiler if you saw a character survive into the movie with another episode next week coming out? No,
absolutely. That's why I think that it could be most likely a minor character.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just threw out Cara Dune because she's one that I think would most likely easily fit into the background because she's somebody that loves the rebellion, but no longer a part of it, and right. Maybe the New Republic, maybe this new resistance might be the thing that she was looking for in some type of way.
And being in hiding is not what she was born to do.
No. Absolutely. So, Jason, do you have anything? Does anything spring to your mind?
The biggest question mark for me in this series is Greef Karga and whether he'll survive Episode 8 and carry on in the Star Wars lore, because I think he and Mandalorian have a fantastic chemistry. They have a love-hate for each other. They don't trust each other, and I think those build the best friendships in pop culture, in my opinion. So, what are the odds that he survives Episode 8?
So I'm going to say here, because, like you were mentioning their relationship, and clearly Greef Karga more so than liking the Mandalorian, I think he more so respects the Mandalorian just a huge amount, because he constantly would always say that he's like, you're my best guy, he's the best one.
They've known each other a while.
And I feel like in some type of way that this, close call in which this creature with the poison might have been the close call, the only one that we're going to really get here. So I kind of feel like he's probably more likely to survive and go into Season 2. Like they kind of might have already hinted at it that Carl Weathers might survive into season 2 because Carl Weathers has talked about season 2.
Oh, yes. Okay.
He has, yeah, but that could mean anything, right?
Yeah.
That could mean just him shooting whatever, or doing anything. So I'm gonna go slightly higher. I'm gonna say I'm gonna go 70% chance that he will survive
70.
this because well over. I think there's a small chance that he might not, but I think with the close call, I think it would be kind of just redoing the same storyline if he didn't survive.
Right. I'm thinking 60%. 60 is where my brain's at. It works for the story, but sacrificing himself to save the kid, somebody who he's been trying to collect for the whole series.
Yeah.
Sacrificing him is still a plot point that I can see happening.
I could see it happening too.
Lando,
at some point.
Lando, go with the kid.
Because I don't think
it from here kind of thing.
Although like the child seems to be like the plot of this whole first season, I think he will carry on to second season as well.
I hope.
I think it'll still be around because it's just too much of a selling point, right? Like literally, there's so many people that are gonna buy those toys when they finally come out. When the stuffed toys come out, like he'll literally be like Dancing Groot all over again, right?
Yeah,
like Baby Groot all over.
They're gonna be
again.
behind us for the next episode.
No, absolutely. So yeah, there you go with the Never Tell Me the Odds. And then the other thing that we do here is the top five moments or scenes of the episode. So Jason, you're the guest. Number 5. What is your 5th favorite moment of the episode?
Well, this was a great episode, and this is a interesting little scene that is hard to explain, but it's Cara Dune's opening scene in this episode where she's having a fist fight for money. She's trying to make money, but they have this interesting electricity belt.
Yep.
Attached to each other. And I'd never seen anything like that before. I was intrigued. I was like, oh, this is an interesting way to choreograph a fight scene.
It's like in wrestling. If you're a wrestling fan, they have these thing called strap matches. And what they do with these strap matches is they attach, like, I think it's one arm to the other person's arm, so there's only like a limited amount that you can get away from the person. So it's the same type of idea, except it's like, they're applying it in the Star Wars sense.
Yeah, she's choking him
so
out.
This fight specifically is what you.
I thought it was really cool. Yeah, a cool way to show a different fight. Yeah.
Mm. So, my number 5 moment is just like a really funny moment, and I enjoyed it. We didn't mention it or talk about it, but it was when right after I believe Mando picks up Cara Dune, and they're on the ship, and they leave the child there. Up at the top, it's like, is the child gonna be there, be okay up there? And it's like the child just sticks his head underneath and then comes back up. It's like, okay, they're still down there. And suddenly, of all these things that the child likes to press things on the ship, he gets a hold of the actual steering wheel, and I don't know, gonna possibly fly them into a black hole or something like that, kill them all.
Yeah, they're both falling all over the ship. They need to get their way back up to the...
It's like that child just loves being in the cockpit, and whether it's just taking off a knob or pressing a button,
Yeah, he's always got his hands on things, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now he's alone in the cockpit. He's like,
in the cockpit, so I'm going to grab this steering wheel that my father has been using this whole time. I want to just act like Dad does.
Yeah. That's a great scene.
Yeah, it's like what you hear about, like with fathers and sons, how they sometimes just take the child on the lap, like in the front seat of the steering wheel, and just let them turn the wheel a little bit, right?
Yeah. Teach them to drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Except this time the child just takes it on for himself.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was my number 5. Number 4, Jason.
My number 4 is the scene we have mentioned. It's the arm wrestling scene with Yoda helping Mandalorian, but there's a nice bit of dialogue there where we find out that Queal was borrowed to the Empire. The Empire had him. Yeah. And he was working for them. I think Cara accused him of
she was on the other side,
working for the Empire, and he says, no, I was borrowed out to the Empire, or I was given to the Empire. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit of his backstory. I like hearing about the Empire because it really ties in to the rest of the lore of Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh, no, and there was one bit of dialogue in that same scene that we didn't really mention as much, is that the Mandalorian, like in that conversation, like when they're talking about the child. Actually, maybe this was earlier. This might have been when they were in his hut still. Was that when they talked about the child, the Mandalorian thought that he might be the Strand cast, and seeming Strand cast, I mean, basing off of what Quill said, could mean a clone.
Right.
Except Quill seemingly does not think that he's a clone.
Right.
Because he said, he's worked on the gene farms and, he knows a little bit about it. And this creature apparently doesn't look like it's a clone. So that's already a hint as to maybe the child is not a clone of Yoda and that, it was born more naturally.
Yeah.
Regardless of the Camino connection with the doctor, who we actually didn't get to see here. I wonder, was Dr. Pershing, in the loo, was he taking a pee and then he got shot through the wall because the Death Troopers opened fire?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna go say hi in just a moment, and then he just gets shot, and Dr. Pershing dies off screen.
But you're right. That was a great little moment where he said, "I don't think he's a clone."
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he was born of, and then he insults Kara as in a response.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So
that's my number 4. Yeah, that great little intimate moment where she says, "You worked for the Empire," and that followed the arm wrestle, which was awesome as well.
Yeah, and so my number 4 is closer to that scene in which they're in Quill's hut again. IG11, he's back. He just walks in and they get his backstory. Just great to see him back. I mean, I like it that Taika is not really doing his same type of voice performance or stuff like that he's doing.
It's a
choosing a
performance.
he's doing a robotic performance. He's playing a robot, right?
Yeah.
So he's doing a more robotic,
but not as
version of it.
comedic. I don't think he's playing it for comedy.
Well, he was definitely he didn't have much comedy in this episode. Like aside from it's like when he walks into the cockpit the one time and he's just like, "I have just prepared refreshments. Would you guys like some?" It's like, no, yeah. I'm not hungry. Yeah, it was food. Never mind. So it'll be interesting. And so it's what happens in this next episode with IG11 because
his return was big. Yeah,
I could see him come in guns a-blazing in the next episode because he's
still on that ship. Yeah,
Queal died right outside the ship.
Yeah, and IG11 probably poked his head out and was watching and said, "Uh-oh."
Oh yeah. But yeah. Anyway.
That's a great moment. Yeah.
Number 4, just 3. IG11 back again. Number 3, Jason.
The death of Queal is my number 3. I mentioned it earlier. The tense moments where he's running away, and the stormtroopers are chasing him down, and you see the ship just so far away right now, and you see them in the background. It's beautiful shooting, and then of course his death. We already touched on this. I think that's one of the best moments in the whole series so far because we haven't lost anyone yet of big importance, and he's the first main.
You don't consider Fennec Shand an important character?
No, not yet. And I think she'll come back.
Yeah,
but that's a big moment in this episode. Yeah.
Oh, totally. And you said shooting, and I think you were saying it more than one ways.
Yeah,
it was great shooting.
Great shooting. Finally, stormtroopers that can hit their mark.
Right. Absolutely. So number 3 for me, as I'm going with the big payoff of what happened in Chapter 2, and you finally getting to see the child heals Greef Karga. We see him, do something that a lot of other Force users don't seemingly are able to do, and that's actually heal people. So, yeah, that was my number 3, seeing the child heal Greef Karga.
That's actually my number 2 as well.
That's your number 2. Okay.
The campfire as a whole, I loved the attack. I loved that. It actually startled me, to be honest. They were just sitting there eating. Right. It actually made me jump.
I mean, you can't really full on see it, but Jason, if you can just go up a little bit, he's wearing a Jason Lives shirt, so he's actually a big fan of horror. So seeing a horror-ish type of a scene happen is probably kind of cool.
And to have it actually startle me is rare.
Right.
But it was a peaceful scene where they're sitting there chatting, and all of a sudden they're getting picked off, and here we go, guns a-blazing. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, it ends with the healing scene. Yeah, that could be, other than the rescue of Yoda in Chapter 3. This could be my favorite action sequence in the whole series.
Yeah. No, they've done several very good action scenes. It's, for me, my still probably favorite hand-to-hand action sequence is probably when Mando fought Cara Dune.
Yeah, great scene.
I love that moment.
There was a lot of good stuff in Chapter 6 on in the prison.
No, absolutely, and that might be my favorite moment in it, where Mando pulls a Batman and he's kind of just like going behind Bill Burr.
It was great, yeah.
But anyway, back to this point. So my number 2, then going into my number 2, would be this. Finally Moff Gideon shows up in such a big way. He shows up in the best way possible with the Death Troopers, with the army, just takes out the client and all that type of stuff, and showing himself as this great big presence. Moff Gideon is finally here. That is my number 2.
I'm one ahead of you because that's actually my number 1.
That's your number 1. There you go.
And I wrote down we have a villain finally. Like as great as the client is. That actor, I don't know his name. You said it already.
Werner Herzog, yeah.
Fantastic actor. My goodness, his dialogue is just mesmerizing. But we actually now know who's after the kid, and the amount of stormtroopers in this episode makes me excited. I mean, we have a real threat. Like each episode, we've had little threats here and there in small storylines, but we haven't needed, a team before, and now the whole team is in jeopardy. And you're right.
Oh, yeah, there was in terms of battle scenes, I guess there has been the Mandalorian having to pull the John Wick breakout scene in Chapter 3.
Yes.
I mean,
because that the client was the villain that we thought we were getting, but we didn't know why. We were like, well, why does he want the kid? And now we know that Moff Gideon is going to get what he wants to get.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm still wondering how Dr. Pershing plays into all this, because clearly he wanted him. He wanted the child. He wanted him alive and whatnot. So, I mean, if Moff Gideon actually has him now, is his plan to kill him? Is his plan more on the Pershing side, where he wants it alive for one reason or another? Werner Herzog clearly didn't care whether it was alive or dead, right? He was completely fine with it being dead.
Maybe he's going to use him for his abilities. Is there any way to extract the Force from Yoda? I don't know if that's
There could be so many reasons.
He might want to hook him up like Magneto to a machine and use his abilities. That could be a thing. I think he wants him for the Force. I don't, I think that's clear.
So you heard everyone. Jason's predicting that the baby Yoda is going to grow up to be Anna Paquin.
But a better actor. Sorry, Anna.
She's Oscar winning.
Yeah, not next man.
Well, either way, my number 1 is goodbye to Quill. I loved him. I mean, R.I.P. Quill. That's just shot so well, and I enjoyed the character, and too bad Nick Nolte is going to be seemingly gone from this show because
he has spoken.
He has spoken. Yeah. Well, don't spoil the ending. But anyway, those were our top 5s here. Thank you guys for watching. Please, guys, let us know what you thought of this episode. Did you think it was one of the best episodes? Did you not like the episode? Comment below. Let me know. I like reading your comments and whatnot, just hearing what you guys have to think of the episode. What did you think of Jason? What did you think of his, Magneto callbacks and, mentions of Magneto and his Jason shirt? Let us know what you think of the Jason Lives shirt. I mean,
hopefully I didn't offend you guys too much.
No, absolutely
Thanks,
not.
Rob, for having me on.
It was nice to hear it from, just, again, from the more common fans' perspective in general. And just, I'm sure we'll see you back on here again in Rebel Scum at some point. Absolutely. And you know what, Jason, do you have anything that you'd like to plug or anything like that? Where can they follow you in real life?
Jaguar1 is my Instagram.
Okay, there you go.
And that's the only social media I really use. So if you want to go on there, I'm a huge horror fan, huge movie collector.
Yeah,
and
you'll get to see a lot of his collector's editions and whatnot. And eventually, he will buy the prequel box set, I guarantee you.
It's coming. Maybe Rob bought it for a Christmas present. You never know.
There you go. Now, and me myself, you can follow me at Robert E. McDonald. I am Darth Ward. You can call me the Dark Lord or whatever you want to call me. Thank you guys for watching, and please again comment below. Let me know what you guys think. And in general, and this is for you, Quill, will still be doing it in your honor. We have spoken.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.